the mud pit, the fight in the mud pit, where Swede gets some screen time. In reality, again, this was shot at Camp Pendleton on a 105-degree day, and what they had massive water trucks come in and empty thousands and thousands of gallons of water into an existing mud pit that just was, there was like a drought, so there just wasn't much water in it. So they filled it up, and then as the scene began, there's the troops are sort of divided, and they begin this fight. Clint, again, he's in the scene, but he's directing, and he, working with the director of photography in determining where the cameras would be placed, he wanted to make sure that certain actors were more prominently featured in this scene, and one of them was me, because it was a true competition, and so that there would be only one man remaining. So the Swede character, as he progresses through the scene, takes out more than one other guy, takes out sometimes two guys at one time. What the idea is, you have to drag the guy out of the mud pit, and then that person is out of the game forever. So you got these teams of guys. Finally, a whole big group of 5, 6 guys grab me. There's one guy on each leg and one guy on each arm and one guy around my waist, and they drag me out. And that's it for the Swede in this particular scene. But it was a lot of fun. We spent about 6 or 8 hours filming this scene. Very, very hot weather, so we didn't mind being in the water. Wasn't the cleanest water I'd ever seen, but it's a memorable scene, and we had absolutely perfect, hot but perfect weather every single day that we shot this in Southern California. I remember this, you can tell the sun really, we got late in the day, and they ran out of the light they wanted, and we were in a place there where there wasn't really, they couldn't bring light, so it is a dark scene, but that's why we just ran out of the day. Probably should have shot this earlier, but nah, Clint needed to stay dry, you know. Yeah, no way to get around it. Yeah, in the mud pit scene, you know, it does climax with the battle between Gunny Highway and Major Powers. Gunny comes out on top. Again, our guys are getting stronger, and the guys in the platoon even have a chance to get rid of Gunny because he violated a policy. And now they don't want to get rid of him anymore. So there's been a real change in the way Gunny is perceived by his men. Gunny ends up at a very formal party where he's wearing his full dress, which includes he's got some outstanding Congressional Medal of Honor and a Purple Heart, I think. So all of these ribbons are impressively displayed as he maneuvers through this party. And I think this part of the movie kind of takes you into a little bit of a lull and sets up really the third act. And that it's going to be when it gets very serious for all these Marines, what they really signed up to do. Yeah, so essentially what kicks off the third and final act is the announcement that these recon Marines have been put on an alert, and lo and behold, they're going to be shipped out into a conflict. Just before and just as this announcement is happening, Clint Eastwood is having a conversation with his ex-wife, right, played by Marsha Mason, and she informs Gunny that her new boyfriend, has asked her to marry him, and Gunny says, "What did you say?" And before she can answer him, he is gone because he's been called away and called into potentially harm's way. So we've got that romantic storyline, put on a hard break, and off Clint goes to, and where these guys end up. And this was a true conflict. In real life, they went to Grenada. This was a battle in Grenada. There was a conflict there that involved not only Grenadian citizens, but also American students that were enrolled in a medical school on the island of Grenada. These scenes were actually shot on the island of Vieques, off the coast of Puerto Rico. That's where we were for 1 week. There are some scenes involved here where you'll see the platoon on ships and helicopters. In reality, we weren't on a ship. We didn't do that, and we weren't inside or on any of those amphibious vehicles. That was all second team stuff. That was done by the real recon Marines. However, there are some helicopter scenes. We were on a helicopter, and there are some scenes that you can kind of identify where you can see us. We went on one or two very brief sort of shuttles on these incredibly massive and powerful helicopters. I don't remember exactly what type. So Swede was on the helicopter, and it was flying around, and we got some footage. And then we did some additional footage on the helicopter, and the blades were going, and it was loud as hell, but we were on the ground. It was shot in such a way that you would think that we were flying, and our legs were hanging off the side. But we weren't going anywhere. But they captured some very authentic footage, and there is some footage of us. You get a pretty good shot of Swede on the flying along just a few feet above the ocean, and that's the real deal. So that was good fun. Again, the scenes where you see our group of recons jumping into the water, jumping into the ocean, not us. That was the real guys. In fact, we didn't actually even get a chance to see that. Well, would have loved to have seen what that looked like, but that was second unit. They were shooting that. We had a very, very hectic schedule in Vieques, and it was extremely hot and humid and buggy, and we were working over there. But it was we were supported in Vieques by our military that resides there in the Atlantic Ocean. It was a long, long flight. So we went from San Diego and flew to Puerto Rico with a stop, I think, in Dallas, and then from Dallas, I believe at that time, to Puerto Rico. And then from Puerto Rico, we had a 2-hour boat ride to get to Vieques. And we had, which is a resort island, but not particularly developed. It wasn't 30 years ago, so we stayed at a very modest hotel there, but the people were just beautiful, so it was good times. During that week, I think it was 6 days in Vieques, I had a unique opportunity. Clint Eastwood walked up to me one day after we were done filming and said, he was by himself, and I was just kind of by myself. And he said, "What are you doing for dinner?" I don't really have a plan. And he says, "Let's me and you. Let's go. Let's get some dinner." Wow. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So he had a car. He didn't have a driver. I mean, he just had a car. He had a car set up for him over there. We jump in. He says, "Somebody told me about this restaurant. See if I can figure out how to get there." And we drove like this for 10, 15 minutes, and the island's very small, but we found some beautiful restaurant, and that was quite an experience. So he's so famous, and we walked into this really humble sort of outdoor, it's kind of almost in a jungle setting overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. We walked in this restaurant, and people, the tourists there, were really from all over the world. Not very many Americans, and it's entirely Spanish speaking. And Clint speaks some Spanish, so that was really helpful. But just everybody just like a buzz through the restaurant. Clint Eastwood's in the restaurant. But it was all these different languages because you had most of the people were from Europe. I believe the tourists were from Europe, so that was really fun. So I just spent like an hour and a half sitting there at dinner, and he's asking me about what it's like to play in the NFL and that what other things I was kind of doing with myself. I had just before I worked on Heartbreak Ridge, I had worked with Burt Reynolds in a movie called Heat. And not very long before that, Clint and Burt Reynolds had worked together on a film called City Heat, interestingly enough. And Clint was very interested to know what my experience was like working with Burt. He liked him very much, but he was also, during that period of time, Burt was very thin and had many health problems. But I said that overall I had a good, really great experience with Burt Reynolds, but Clint was very concerned, very interested to know about him, and Clint took a very keen interest in me personally, and I really appreciated that. I mean, he was like that generally with everybody. He really cared. So that was my one-to-one dinner with Clint Eastwood in Vieques, off this beautiful island off the coast of Puerto Rico. So then we got back to filming the next day, and a lot of running around with guns, a lot of ammunition, a lot of, again, our technical specialists, because these guns, even though they got blanks in them, they can be dangerous. Very, very powerful weapons, and I'm lugging around this M60 machine gun, which is affectionately referred to by Marines as the Pig, and I think it's got some other nicknames.